Hello and welcome to another episode of Laptop Retrospective, and today we have two interesting accessories from Nearity. Now, Nearity was featured on this channel a while back when I took a look at their stand-up web camera, and it was pretty good. There were a couple things that I was hoping that they would improve, and they have reached out to me again to take a look at this conference system setup. So before I continue, I want to make it perfectly clear that these two products were provided to me by Nearity, and these were not personally purchased, so they were provided by the company for the production of this review. I'm not being financially compensated. As always, my opinions on any device I feature on this channel will remain my own. Now, this is going to be split into two videos. If you want to see the speaker video, I'm going to encourage you to click over here, and if you want to see the camera video, make sure you're sticking around right now. Okay, let's do a quick unboxing of the camera component. This is the AW-V410, and it is a pan, tilt, zoom conference camera. We do have a remote that comes with it. We have a USB Type A to USB Type C cable. We have a power supply that looks to have a universal adapter, and they did send the correct adapter for North America there, so that is good to see. And then we need to pull out this piece of foam, and that gives us access to the camera itself. So here we have it. The camera itself has several different functions. It has a 4x optical zoom and about 2.5x digital. It has a tripod mount screw on the bottom there, so you can mount this in all sorts of different configurations, and you can also flip it. So if you need to mount it this way, I believe you can also do that as well. The remote has 4 preset positions that you can program this thing to pan and tilt to if there are specific spots in the room that you know that you're going to want it to do. There are 2 microphones built into this, but if you're using it in conjunction with the AW-A20S, that is obviously going to have considerably better audio than the 2 microphones that are built into this. At least we would certainly hope so. Now, the camera can do up to 1440p. However, I can only find information that it will do 30 frames per second and not 60. And that appears to be on all resolutions. So if you are looking for FHD 60 frames, I don't think this can do it. And that is a bit of a downer, given the price point and the quality that it seems to exude. There is also one functionality, though, that might be very, very useful, is a 50 to 60 hertz button. So if you're trying to record screens and you want to get rid of screen flicker, this ought to do it, and it'll do it out of the box. So I know that there's quite a few retro enthusiasts that might find that to be an interesting feature. So if we remove this silicone lens cap, we get a good look at the optic in there. Now, the optic is a Sony sensor, I believe, and I'll leave the specifics up here on the screen just so you know what exactly it is you're dealing with for f-stop, sensor size, megapixels, all that good stuff. And then on the back here, we have our I/O. Now you will notice that this has a punch out for HDMI, but this specific model does not have HDMI out, unfortunately. It does have a PoE Ethernet area here, so you can connect this camera to a network, which is nice. You can also connect it directly with USB Type-C, and then there's your power plug if you don't have PoE set up to provide the power over the Ethernet. So yeah, let's go ahead and set this up and see what we get in terms of video quality and color. And what I might do is actually just set it up on a tripod right next to my main camera and swap over to that. So give me 1 second and let's set all of that up. Trying to do anything in the NearSync app is a bit of a trial of frustration, because every time you send this thing a command, you have to wait for it to catch up, and then sometimes it just doesn't. The good news is, though, is that there's very little in terms of inside that you would want to adjust on the fly. Most of the settings are pretty much on the remote already, which is kind of a mixed bag. So this is a test of the Nearity Conference Camera V410. Currently, I'm using the built-in microphones, which are serviceable. It's pretty clear that the audio quality is not the primary concern of this, and it would be a make-do until you got another accompanying audio solution like the A20S or another similar product. We've got pretty decent color representation just looking at my screen over here, and we have some really good zoom controls as well that both pan and tilt the camera quite nicely. Now, there are two sets of zoom. We can either zoom very, very quickly, or we can zoom very, very slowly. Both would be pretty handy in certain conditions where you may choose to be more dramatic with your zoom. And then, of course, pan and tilt work as you would expect it to. It's pretty quiet. I wouldn't call it necessarily silent, but if there's conversation going on in the room, you certainly wouldn't hear this camera over top of it. Now, the center line of the camera is right here. So as you can see, I've got a pretty wide breadth of coverage. And just so you know, I'm approximately 5 feet away from the camera. Let's see how this works in conjunction with the microphone that we've got on the table. This is the A20S now. So we're hearing audio coming out of that, which is obviously going to sound a little better, given that this has 8 microphones, whereas that has 2. And just to throw in a little bit of comparison, this is obviously how the system is designed to work, but if we compare this against the integrated microphones that are built into this current laptop that I'm using, we can get a better understanding, here we go, of the audio quality between all three. So this is the microphones that are built into the laptop, capturing audio right now. So we'll be able to compare this against the ones that are built into the camera and the ones that are built into the A20 microphone as well. Overall, pretty good. I might even try to find a way to utilize this camera for doing some filming in this new setup, because I can actually film up as opposed to just looking at the table all the time. All right, so overall, ladies and gentlemen, that is the AW-V410, and it has some pretty neat features. There are a couple of others that I'd be kind of hoping to see just a little bit better. The HDMI out being absent from this model is a bit too bad. That really opens up the sorts of configurations it can be utilized in. The application, to me, is kind of a frustrating point. The good news is that you can do pretty much everything that you need to on the remote. I also noted that the text that comes up on the screen saying like camera loading is written backwards, but the image is not. The image is actually correct, left to right. So there are a few oddities that I'm not 100% sure about. It is very clear, however, that Nearity has improved and that they're probably going to continue to do so if my last run-in with them is any indication. So I'm hopeful that these things can be patched out, or again, maybe it's user error. If you're interested in taking a look at the conference speaker that was featured earlier in the video, I'll make sure to leave some links in the description downstairs. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.